Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Allen. Hope you're having a good semester so far. It seems like everyone's been rocking all the assignments, getting them in. It's been good quality work. But as always, if you have any questions, concerns, worries, anything like that, just reach out. You can stop by my office, meet face to face on Zoom. You can do anything by email. But so far, it's been good. I've been very impressed with everything everyone's been turning in. Just to kind of give you a heads up, Google Classrooms, they've been flying in fast and furious, which is awesome. This week, I might be a little slow on the grading. I'll try to get everything done within the week, just to let you know, because mainly because in the other classes, I have some papers coming in, and I'm trying to make sure I have a quick turnaround. But I will do my best to make sure that they're done ASAP. Talking about the Google Classroom, not the other work. Uh, but also, just to kind of let you know, don't forget that you have your certification stuff that's due at the end of the semester. I've been really impressed. A lot of people have already been knocking it out, but you have either the Apple certification, the Google certification, you can pick either one, or you can actually do the certification about what we're going to talk about today, Nearpod. The only thing I would say about that is there are some bells and whistles that you have to do as far as making sure that so many people view your Nearpod and all with it, but we can talk about that a little bit towards the end. I don't think it will be a problem actually, because most of you, considering you're probably juniors or graduate students that already have classrooms or such, you might be able to do it in your classroom and meet those standards. So with that, all that being said, I'll come back to that. I'm kind of babbling on that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I want to make sure we're on the same page with everything. And there is our class. Just to pull up the syllabus to make sure we're all on the same page. By the way, since I'm looking at this already, our graduate students, I know we only have 3 and 500. Please don't forget that you have the literature review. It's not due for some time also, but if you have any questions with that, again, that's just for the graduate students, and if you're in Ed 500. But the materials are up. I think I shared that last week or 2 weeks ago and fired an email a few times, but I like to repeat things. Just to let you know, let me look down here. If you look this week, we are, and you're going to look at it again on the page, but we're going to talk about presentation software. I think this is when we start to get into some of the more fun stuff with the class, and it's just things you can incorporate in your class. Please don't forget this week you have a discussion to get on the 21st century learning books. By the way, the discussions have been really good. I know that book now is about 10 years old, so some of it might seem a little dated, but some of it still has the 21st century concepts. You all have been rocking those. Also, blogs with the tech, they've been excellent. So don't forget you'll have blog 3 due on this week. I'll share the assignment that you have to do after we get done with the PowerPoint or the presentation I'm going to do here for a minute. But I will say this, as with all the tech, I'm going to do my video. I will make sure there are tabs up for Nearpod as far as directional YouTube videos that might be a little more polished than what I'm doing, if that helps. And also, I have kind of tweaked things a little bit this semester as far as how I do the presentation software. In the past, I've let students choose between doing a Nearpod, Pear Deck, or a Powtoon. I have to admit, 98% of the time, everyone always did Nearpod anyway. This week, and you'll see it on the assignment, it's already posted up and it's on the assignment page. You have to do Nearpod. And the reason why I'm doing that is I talked to Berkeley and Jefferson County, and it was something they both requested that you all be familiar with. I have to admit, I'm pretty familiar with Nearpod. I've been using it for almost 10 years now, or getting close to it. And I've done the certification and all that. So I'm a very pro Nearpod guy, so I'm actually glad I just kind of made that decision. But I still wanted to share Pear Deck and Powtoon on there, and you're welcome to check them out. And if you'd rather do your blog on one of those other two, that's fine. But the assignment has to be Nearpod. I can kind of tell you the differences right now because when I get to talking, I'm going to be basically locked into Nearpod. But basically, Pear Deck is very similar to Nearpod, except for it doesn't have quite as many bells and whistles, and it's more aligned with Google Slides. It's something your students might be able to do. Also, Powtoons is like a PowerPoint where you can snazz up the appearance of the slides themselves, and they're a little more busy. Probably, again, if you had student presentations, I think they would really like. Pear Deck and Nearpod are probably a little more teacher friendly in that you can add some form formative type assessments right in there for that instant like feedback and such. But I'm putting the cart a little bit before the horse. I'm going to show you all that here in a minute. But this week, there you go. That's what it is. Discussion 3 and log 3, and you're going to have to make a Nearpod. Please don't forget, in a few weeks, your lesson plan 1 is due. I'm going to probably have something up a little later this week, coming week, or early next week, just to kind of explain. I, again, am pretty lenient on how you do your lesson plans for this class, only because everyone's kind of coming at it from a different content area and such. I'm just looking for certain things that are on that checklist. And if they're there, I'm usually pretty lenient on how you do it. But because elementary seems to do their lesson plans a little different than like maybe English ed or how social studies does their lesson plans and such. And that's not saying one's better than the other. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just looking for different things. Of course, when you go out in the field, you'll see that too. But as much as I love sitting here watching myself on a video talk, I'm going to go ahead and get to the lesson. So this week, we are going to, I'll have week 4 up later, but as I already said, there's what's going on for this week. Your reading is the role of the the role of professional learning, excuse me, that's your 21st century reading. This week, the main thing is going to be doing Nearpod, and your assignments for blog 3, discussion 3, and creating an Nearpod. And it's up put on there. Don't forget your certifications. They're due sometime in the future, but I always like to remind, I've just been impressed that so many people have already done it. So anyway, here's what we're going to do. I am going to pull up Nearpod. This video is probably just going to be me kind of instructing a little bit on some of the pros of Nearpod and how you can use it in the class. I'll try to keep this as short as possible. I get a little long-winded as this intro is kind of showed, but we'll just kind of go with it. What do we got to do? It's a Friday when I'm recording this, and I'm sitting here doing this and having a good time. So let's do it. All right. As you can see, just to kind of give you the background on Nearpod, Nearpod's a very interactive type thing. You do need to sign up for Nearpod. I'm not asking you to sign up for the higher end ones. I am actually Nearpod Gold, which means I have a little more access to some of the bells and whistles that I can input in this. I'm going to probably show you a few of those, and you may not have access to them. When you do the free account, you have a silver account, I believe. If you get hired in Berkeley, Jefferson, and I would assume Washington County because I believe they use this also, most of the time the counties have a login for you. The only bummer with that is I think if you leave the counties, you kind of lose the stuff that you've loaded up. A few things with Nearpod. As you can see, I have a lot of lessons. I've used this a lot over the years. Some of the things that are in here, I have made. Some of the things in here, Nearpod actually allows you to have access to. If you get a county one, you will have access to their entire library. I was looking up the library so I could put it up there. You'll have access to their entire library. Some of the things are good. Some of them are, but you can check them out. You can also make your own. That's what I'm going to focus on today, but I do want to just show you real quick some of the things you can do. I default to social studies. That's just where my background is. So I am going to hit social studies. And I taught mostly middle school. So I am going to hit 6th, 7th, and 8th. And if you look, I hit Nearpod library. And there's all these Nearpods that are in here related to social studies. And you see it's loading up tons of them. They're usually pretty good quality. Some of them cost money, some do not. As you can see, I'm gold, so I have access to these. If you have the silver, sometimes you have to buy them, and believe me, I've had to buy some in the past before. But let me just pull up one. This is one I think I actually already have. But you'll just pull it up, and here's the thing. There's a bunch of stuff in here where you will have formative assessments. I'm just trying to give you an example of what it looks like when you go. But let's just go and show you. You can see it's very much like a PowerPoint. Now, I'm going to show you a little more on this here in a minute, but there's tons of stuff in that library. Like I said, these are the ones I've had. Actually, students have shared some with me too that I've asked if I could keep for examples and such. But actually, if I've had you in some other classes, you may recognize a few of these. I've done them in my Shepherd classes. All right, with all that being said, there's a library if you want to check it out. This is my library. I'm going to make a Nearpod just to kind of show you what you need to do and what all and how it's done. If you want to look on here too, there's some other things. You can integrate it with Google Slides, which means it works with Google Classroom and all. But when you get to there, and it'll ask once you have your thing, you can do new or you can hit here. Either one works. I'll hit here, new lesson in Nearpod, and I'll get this screen. This is where it kind of gets neat and it gets a little fun. You can do one of two things. You can either hit add slide, and you can pick whatever type of slide you want to do. We're going to come back and do that. This is what I would suggest. I think it's usually the easiest, especially if you have to do it. And I'll show you your assignment here in a minute, but basically you're going to have to make 10 slides. I usually make a PowerPoint and convert it to a PDF. And if you look, you can drop them in there. Now, I will tell you, make sure grammatically, capitalization, however you want to phrase that PowerPoint is exactly how you want it before you drop it in here, because you can't edit this. That's the only downside. If you make the slides in Nearpod, you can edit them. If you download a PowerPoint or a PDF or whatever, it will not let you edit the slides. So, but I just think this is easier because usually I like Nearpod. I think working around Keynote and converting it or PowerPoint's a little easier. But here's one on the French Revolution. I converted it already. I'm going to drop it. And you see it's going to ask me if I want to go ahead and do it as individual slides. I do. And as you can see, I'm going to talk while it's loading up, and it's already done. Look, that quick. Now I'm going to hit this OK. And hopefully, as it's file processing, you're going to see. Now, this is where Nearpod gets kind of neat. And after I make this, I'll show you kind of how it works. But you're going to be able to add different types of formative assessments. You can add 3D aspects to it. You can do all types of stuff. We'll see. It's just file processing, but I kind of jumped into it a little bit. But some of the things I think I might add on this just to show to you, or maybe a question, a poll is something you have to do. You can do quizzes. Since it's the French Revolution, I may do a virtual 3D field trip on here. There's also, for science, there's some 3D type images that you can put in there if you're into that. So we'll see, but hopefully this will load up here in a minute. I was hoping to be a little quicker so I could just keep talking and not babble here, but let's see what happens. Let's see how long I can stall. But once it's on here, it is pretty neat. And again, there'll be one that's me not babbling if you need an instructional type thing. Let's see. Uh-oh, there it is. Yay. As you can see, that's up. Simple as that. Now my Nearpod slides are on. Now, let's say I want to add some stuff. The third estate. If you can look there, this is on the French Revolution. I want to add a slide. You just click that, and there's different things. You can add videos they have options for. They have slides, they have web content, they have slideshows, they have audio. There's Sway, which is like a slide thing. I usually do these. That's like the bonus features. Some of these, actually, some of them I haven't even had a chance, like the simulations, I haven't even had a chance to check out. I don't know if they're all on the silver, but here's the ones that you really need to pay attention to. That's the content. If you hit activities, there's a bunch of stuff here. A lot of people really like to time the climb, which is like a, have you ever seen The Price is Right, where you have to climb up and the little guy falls over the mountain? It's kind of along that type of thing. But what I'm babbling about here is you can add a lot of things and make your lectures a little more interactive with this. So say I want to ask my students, what is the third estate? And then I spelled it. Luckily I caught it. And we'll fix it. All right, I hit boom. All right, now you're going to notice it's down here. Now I'm obviously going to have to, this is one of the things I think is a little bit of a pain with this, but you're going to have to slide it up and work your way up where you want it because we loaded these in, but it's not that bad once you get it going. And I want it right after that one. And you'll see at the end, we'll go through all this. All right, I want to add another slide. I'll come back to these fun ones with the content here in a minute. The activities are really what you need to do for your assignment. Maybe I want to do a poll. you can ask your students, you know, is the more, what is what is the more important revolution? Again, you know, this is me coming off the top of my head here. And you might even say you can add more than this, but I would say American, French. You know, we'll get fancy. We'll even say industrial. And I'll even fix that. Make it a capital. And we'll hit that. This is where I kind of like it because you can get this. And by the way, you can download the results or the answers that your students give to this and kind of give yourself a little bit of a headway as far as if they understand something or not. But maybe I want to put that up here. All right, we'll put it there. We'll just put it as the first one. It's maybe some sort of like bell ringer type thing. You can look, you can do other activities. There's polls, there's fill in the blank. You can add flip grids now, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. I'm a little old now when this was starting. A lot of my students like the drawing. Draw, Lady, Liberty. And I used to not let students like cut and paste and put things in, but we can go on there. And I'm going to show you one more thing. And you can go in here and add, but another perk with this, and I'll show you when we hit it and start it. I'm just going to put it there. And one last thing I want to show you. You can do the content. I'm just going to do here. And I'll just type in Paris. So you can see it's pretty easy to navigate once you get in here. And like anything with this, I think you're finding you have to kind of play with these things to kind of get what you want. I'm surprised it's taking that long to find Paris. We'll do Notre Dame. It's right there. It's quick. And we'll put that here. There's really no rhyme or reason I'm doing any of these. All right. So those are some things that I've added. You can also add quizzes. I'm not going to do one, but I think that is something I have on there for you to do. And that's just basically a multiple choice type thing. Again, kind of almost like the poll, but a little different, but you need to do something like that. All right. Once you add all these up, you're just going to hit save and exit. And we'll do French Revolution. My intended audience, it would normally probably be more 7th grade. And we'll do social studies. And we'll save and exit. Okie dokie. Now, here's what we got to do. If you look, it's right there. Now, once you're in your library, it'll probably be the first thing you see. There's a lot of different ways to go about this. You can actually link it to Zoom, which if you're in your placement, you might be able to do. I think a lot of the schools have actually been doing like meets and teams and stuff though. But you can do that. Or you can just do this, which I think you could still do over those other things. Hit live participation. Talking too fast. I get too excited. Live participation is one where if you have a classroom full of students, so let's say you have 20 students, you would hit live participation. They each have to have a device. And I'll kind of show you how that works. You can also subscribe or assign, well, not assign, is probably a better word for it, student paste where the students will get a code and they can go through and do the PowerPoint and the activities at their own discretion. I know when COVID first hit, I had a student out in the field. She was doing an AP Euro over at Washington High School. And she actually did a lot of self-paced Nearpods, which her placement teacher really liked because it gave the students a way to kind of test what they knew and they were getting the results and such. She was sending me the results. It was really good. But with that being said, if you want to do a Nearpod in the class, you hit live participation and your students will go to nearpod.com and they will enter this code. You can send it. You can do it in Google Classroom. These are all, oh, I'm sorry. Look at that. I didn't even realize that it's in Microsoft Teams. So you can actually send that to your students and it'll be there and it'll just open right up for them. And when they put in their code, their device will pull this stuff right up and their names will pop up right there. So one thing I will tell you, I was adamant about this. This is one thing if you've seen Kahoot, I don't know if any of you have done this, I don't know what year you're in or how old you are. I made students, they had to put their real name, like first and last name, because one, I actually sometimes took this, most of the time it was a class participation grade, but I wanted real names. I didn't want anything silly or anything like that. I think it just kind of kills the mood because I want them to view this as an assignment and something serious and not always just something, it is fun, but not, hardcore, but still something they need to take a little bit seriously. So once the students' names are on here and they have their code and they're in, they'll start answering questions. So, and as they answer, they'll pop right up on here. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. And then, of course, you go through the slides. When the students go through, I'm looking through it through a teacher's point of view, by the way. Students will get this slide and they'll answer. Again, it'll kind of tell you how many are participating and what slide you're on. And you can have students' names there. I don't have mine hidden. Their names will all pop there. You can actually hit that and their names won't appear if you don't want to embarrass anyone, which is probably not a bad idea. And as you look, you see it just cruise right through. You can talk and you can add as many as you want. You can draw. I don't have anything on there, but as the students draw, their drawings will pop up here and you can click and share it. Very neat. I don't know if I have any old ones. I'll see if I have some. You can see I'm just cruising through. And again, I added that 3D thing, and I think I actually can do these, and you can see they can take the field trip around. You can zoom in and check things out. One thing I will warn you if you use any of this type of VR stuff, which is very neat. I like the virtual reality type views and all. I used to always try to find things for them to look for, because if not, most of the students sometimes, like especially in middle school, would try to zoom in on people and see what. One time I had someone found there was some graffiti on a pole. It didn't have a nice word on it, so of course then everyone was looking for that and we had to shut her down. So things like that also happen. So just make sure you go through it. But that is Nearpod. It's pretty cut and dry, not much to it. I think my poll was it. No, it was at the beginning. So anyway, that's Nearpod. Let me go out of here. I want to show you something else. Do you want to save this session? No. If I go back. Yes, sorry. It's a little quick. I didn't read that too fast. I used to have some stuff. Let's see if I have some reports. You see? Oh, yep, look at all that. I have old things from students who did things. That is, let's see. I can look, and you can look at the data. And so it's all on there. I know I'm going a little quick, but if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me at any time. The main things you need to do are register for it and start putting some of this in there and messing around with it. If you have a buddy, maybe have them go to Nearpod. All the students have to do to register is Nearpod, and then there should be a code that you send for someone to I can't log out. Hold on. I have an app, by the way, also. You go to nearpod.com, it'll ask for the code, and they would just put that code in, and their screen will become your PowerPoint, and they would just slide right through. If you have problems with it, though, please contact me. I think it's very neat. For me, you can send me either the student pace link, like, for example, if you click that, you can just send me that code. I should be able to get into it, no problem, to check it out. If you really want, you can also download them as PDFs, I think right there. You can send that to me. It doesn't matter, just as long as I somehow get it, somehow share that link. I would probably send it either as an independent student pace one or a PDF. And just, you can submit it right on Sakai or whatever. I like this. Like I say, the benefits of it are, it's PowerPoint, but it's like PowerPoint on steroids, so to speak, where you can do formative assessments. You can ask those questions and put those in there and get immediate feedback for data, which is something I know some of you are starting to think about at TPA a little bit. You can do a little bit of virtual stuff. Again, going around, checking it out. It just makes your lectures a little more spunky, so to speak. I think that's very important also for secondary students or secondary teachers. One thing I noticed, and one thing I was very guilty of, I worked K through 12, 5 through 12, worked 5 through 12. And sometimes if you're just doing PowerPoints, it is dull. This kind of livens it up. Again, I didn't use it every day. I use it a lot of times just to kind of give the students a little bit of a break, maybe on like a Wednesday or Thursday. But the main thing is this is just a nuts and bolts intro. I know I'm doing this very quickly. I will have a help video also up. If you need any help though, feel free to stop by my office. I'm always in there on Mondays and Wednesdays, or just fire me an email. But again, it's just a good way to kind of spice up your lectures. The counties are very interested in it. Helps with assessment. It helps be more interactive. You can also have students like do more conversational type stuff. And also, you've probably already talked about them. There's a little bit of gardener with the drawing, feedbacks, and such. And also, I'm just kind of being nosy now. There's all those other things that you can add in there besides that, like it had sway and the simulations and such. Some of that might be on a little higher grid, and I'm not asking you to pay for that, but just register, silver account, and go. What I'm going to show you now is, let me just close some of this out. Look, here's your assignment. Create in Nearpod the following. Be sure that you have created that Nearpod account. The basic account is free, so you don't have to pay for anything. If you already have one, that's fantastic. You need a title page of the lesson being covered. It can be anything in your field. I would, think something to build your lesson plan around, maybe, because your lesson plan has to reflect some sort of tech. So you might be using Google Classroom. You can use this. That's all fine. You need to do 9 slides of content. They don't have to be in depth. I just want to see some basic type stuff, things that you would do in the field or with the students. Again, you can create these slides in PowerPoint, Google Slides, whatever. And then I would load them on the Nearpod like I showed you. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You can do each individual one, but I think you'll find that that's a little bit of a pain. One Nearpod slide has to have a poll. I would insert that somewhere in there where it makes sense if you could. One, you need to add an open-ended question in your Nearpod. And then you need to add a quiz. You need those 3 things. You can do those 3 things, you're golden. If you have a higher end one for some reason, or if you want to try to add something else besides one of those 3, that's fine. I picked those 3 because I know they're in the silver account. If you find something else you think is a Nearpod like tool or gadget that you want to put in besides those 3, that's fine. I won't take anything off. I just want to make sure you can build a Nearpod. So that's the assignment. That's Nearpod. I know I kind of babbled a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of just show you the ins and outs and how to move around. Don't forget also, I said that you could do a Nearpod certification if you ever wanted to, instead of the Apple or the Google. Just type in Nearpod Certified Educator, and it is there, and all the questions and Q&A. There's a Q&A with what you have to do. By the way, if you do get the Nearpod certification, you get upgraded to gold immediately after, well, I say immediately. After you get it, they upgrade your account. But the other thing that's kind of neat is they actually kind of give you an idea of what you have to do when you put apply. There's all this stuff. There's some things there, what type of accounts you already have. Your school will be Shepherd. That's fine. You don't even have to put a school district. And then I think you know your city and your state and your country, your role that best suits you. I would say, I was thinking of this, other is fine. Or you know what? Put teacher. I would put either one. School subject, whatever you're doing. And there's your grades. I'm actually moving down here. You do have to do a little training. There's videos there that you can do on their site to kind of look towards the webinars. There's the link. And then you're going to have to create a Nearpod. And one thing I will tell you is, I don't know if it's on here. Oh, there it is. You have to have students join your Nearpod lesson at least 15 times. If the answer is no. If you need help having some people log into that thing, just let me know. We'll kind of all help each other out. If you're out in the field, you shouldn't have a problem meeting this. If you want to try it out in the field, you can probably have your students log in and they can probably do it no problem. I think the question is actually asking that there's been 15 people that have logged into it, but oh, there you go. Read Nearpod lessons to groups of 5. So if you're in secondary, that should be easy. That will probably be the big hang up with this certification for a lot of you. But again, I'll definitely help you out the best that we can. If anything, we can share them and other people can kind of check them out and try them out. So that's just it. Not saying you have to do the certification. It's just an option if you don't want to do the Apple or the Google. I'm not going to kid you. I probably think if you want to jazz up the resume, I would think Google or Apple would probably be better, and this would be something that you could come back to a little bit later. But some people like doing this type of stuff a little more than the Apple and the Google, and I figured I'd give you a little more variety if I could. That's basically it for this week. Again, don't forget your blog. Don't forget your discussion. If I'm talking a little louder, my neighbor just went up the road in a motorcycle, so excuse me, you might have heard it. If not, I'm just babbling again. But make sure you do that. If you have any problems getting around Nearpod, though, let me know. I know that was kind of a rough little show around, but it's just tinkering with it and things like that. I'll have all that stuff posted this week. It should be all open on Sunday, which will be what, the 14th? No, 13th. So it will be ready to roll for next week. With all that being said, I hope you're having a great week, and I will catch you later.